The great chamber of the Galactic Concord had stood for 9,000 years. Its walls were made of living crystal that sang softly when important decisions were being made. Today the crystals were screaming. Ambassador Kethra of the Villani Dominion stood at the center of the chamber, her 4 purple eyes blinking in sequence as she faced the assembled counselors. She was considered one of the finest diplomatic minds in the known galaxy. She had brokered peace between warring empires. She had negotiated treaties that saved billions of lives. In her 300 years of service, she had never once shown fear. Today, her tentacles were trembling. High Counselor Zorith leaned forward from his elevated seat. He was an ancient being, his body made entirely of shifting crystals that caught the light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. He had led the Concord for over 1,000 years, and he had seen many things, but he had never seen Kethra afraid. "You called this emergency session," Zorith said, his voice resonating through the chamber like wind through hollow stones. "You claimed it could not wait. Explain." Kethra took a deep breath, a gesture she had learned from the creatures she was about to describe. 6 cycles ago, my exploration vessel detected an unknown energy signature in the outer rim. We followed it to a small yellow star in an unremarkable spiral arm. There we found a species that had just developed faster than light travel. New species are discovered regularly. Counselor Varn of the Helix Collective interrupted. His mechanical body clicked and whirred as he spoke. "This hardly warrants an emergency session." "This species is different," Kethra replied. "I have spent 6 cycles studying them. I have observed their world. I have analyzed their history, their biology, their culture." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I am recommending Category Red designation." The chamber fell silent. The singing crystals stopped their song. For a long moment, no one moved. Category Red was a theoretical classification. It existed only in the oldest texts, created by the founders of the Concord as a warning. It described a species so dangerous, so unpredictable, and so impossible to contain that all contact should be avoided forever. In 9,000 years, across the discovery of over 12,000 sentient species, Category Red had never been assigned. "You cannot be serious," Counselor Mira of the Seraph Union said. She was a being of pure golden energy, and her light flickered with distress. "Category Red is a myth, a warning tale for young diplomats." "I am completely serious," Kethra said. She activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. An image appeared of a blue and green world, covered in swirling white clouds. "They call their world Earth. They call themselves humans." The image shifted to show the creatures themselves. They stood on 2 legs, with 2 arms, and soft skin in various shades of brown and pink. They had hair on their heads and small eyes set in flat faces. They looked fragile. They looked weak. "These creatures warrant Category Red?" Varn asked, his mechanical voice carrying obvious disbelief. "They appear barely capable of surviving a moderate temperature shift." "That is what I thought at first," Kethra admitted. "I was wrong. I was so very wrong." She manipulated the display, and new images appeared. "Their planet is what our classification system calls a death world. The temperature varies from extreme cold to extreme heat. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, a highly corrosive gas. The planet is covered with predators, poisonous plants, and unstable geological formations." She showed them images of volcanoes erupting, hurricanes spinning across oceans, and earthquakes splitting the ground open. Any single one of these factors would make most worlds uninhabitable. Earth has all of them, and yet humans do not simply survive there. They have conquered their world completely. They live in frozen wastelands where the temperature drops far below freezing. They live in deserts, where the heat would cook most species alive. They have built cities on fault lines. They have built homes next to active volcanoes. The images shifted to show human cities spanning every possible environment. Buildings reaching toward the sky in dense clusters. Roads cutting through mountains. Bridges spanning vast bodies of water. "They are persistent," Zeroth observed. "This is not enough for Category Red. There's more," Kethra said. "Much more?" She changed the display again. "Humans are pursuit predators. Their ancient ancestors did not rely on speed or strength to catch prey. They simply followed their target until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can travel vast distances without rest. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. Their bodies heal at a rate that our scientists found difficult to believe. She showed medical images now. Broken bones knitting back together. Wounds closing and scarring over. Missing tissue, regenerating. When their bodies fail, they simply replace the broken parts. They transplant organs from one human to another. They attach mechanical limbs when biological ones are lost. They inject themselves with diseases to make themselves immune to those diseases. They cut open their own bodies to repair damage inside. Counselor Myra flickered rapidly. They harm themselves to heal themselves? They call it medicine, Kethra replied. And that is not the most disturbing part of their biology. She paused, gathering herself. Humans form bonds, not just with each other, but with other species. They take predators into their homes and treat them as family. They keep animals that could kill them and call them pets. They will risk their lives for creatures that provide them no practical benefit. She showed images of humans with various earth animals. Large, furry predators lying peacefully next to human children. Humans swimming with creatures that had mouths full of sharp teeth. Humans touching animals covered in poisonous spines. But their bonds with each other are even stronger. Humans will die for each other without hesitation. Not just for family members. They will sacrifice themselves for complete strangers. They have a concept they call heroism, which describes individuals who put themselves in danger to save others. They celebrate these individuals. They tell stories about them. They teach their children to aspire to be like them. Kethra turned off the display. The chamber fell into shadow. All of this makes them impressive, she said. It does not make them category red. What makes them category red is what happens when you threaten something they care about. She looked around the chamber. Meeting the eyes of each counselor in turn, I watched a human female fight a predator 3 times her size because it was threatening her child. She should have died. I watched a group of humans run into a collapsing building to save strangers trapped inside. Several of them died. The survivors immediately went back in to find more people. I watched a single human stand in front of a vehicle capable of crushing him because it was heading toward a crowd of children. He did not move. The vehicle stopped. Her voice dropped low. Humans do not calculate odds. They do not perform cost-benefit analyses when lives are at stake. Something in their biology simply switches off all sense of self-preservation when they perceive a threat to others. They become something else. Something that does not stop, does not tire, and does not give up until the threat is eliminated or they are dead. She let the silence stretch. And that, she said finally, is why I am recommending Category Red, because if we ever give them a reason to see us as a threat, we'll learn exactly what that means, and I do not think we will survive the lesson. The council chamber remained dark after Kethra finished speaking. No one moved. No one spoke. The ancient crystals in the walls had fallen completely silent, as if they too were afraid. High Counselor Zorith was the first to break the silence. His crystalline body shifted colors from blue to deep purple, a sign of serious thought among his kind. You have described a resilient species, he said slowly, perhaps even an admirable one. But resilience alone does not justify Category Red. Many species are resilient. Many species form strong bonds. Tell us what truly frightens you about these humans. Kethra had been waiting for this question. She had hoped she would not have to answer it. She activated the display again. And this time the images that appeared were not of cities or animals or natural disasters. They were images of war. Humans have existed as a technological species for approximately 10,000 of their years, she said, her voice flat and controlled. In that entire time, their planet has never known complete peace. Not once. There has always been conflict somewhere. Wars between nations. Wars between religions. Wars between ideologies. Wars for resources. Wars for territory. Wars for reasons they themselves no longer remember. The images showed battlefields from throughout human history. Primitive humans fighting with sharpened sticks. Humans in metal armor, charging at each other with swords. Humans crouching in trenches while explosions tore the earth around them. Humans flying through the sky in machines built for killing. There. Very good at war, Kethra continued. They have made it into an art form. They have developed thousands of different ways to kill each other, from simple clubs to weapons that can destroy entire cities in a single instant. She changed the image. A mushroom cloud rose against a darkened sky. This is called a nuclear weapon. Humans developed it approximately 80% of their years ago. It works by splitting atoms apart and releasing the energy inside. A single one of these weapons can kill hundreds of thousands of humans instantly. The radiation it releases can kill thousands more over time. It can make the land poisonous for generations. Counselor Varn's mechanical body went still. They created such a weapon. They created it, they used it, and then they built thousands more, Kethra replied, during a period they called the Cold War. Two of their largest nations each possessed enough nuclear weapons to destroy their entire planet several times over. They pointed these weapons at each other and waited. Waited for what? For the other side to attack first. They called this strategy mutually assured destruction. Both sides knew that if either one attacked, both would be completely destroyed. So neither attacked. They maintained peace through the promise of total annihilation. The chamber was silent again. Counselor Myra's golden light had dimmed to almost nothing. This is insanity, she whispered. It worked, Kethra said simply. For decades, it prevented major war between their most powerful nations. Humans found a way to use their own capacity for destruction as a tool for peace. They balanced on the edge of extinction and did not fall. She changed the display again. This time, the images were different. Humans in white coats working in laboratories. Humans in hospitals caring for the sick. Humans building homes. Humans teaching children. But this is what makes them truly dangerous, Kethra said. They know exactly what they are. They are fully aware of their capacity for violence, their history of bloodshed, their potential for destruction, and they choose every day to be something else. She showed them human art. Paintings of terrible battles hung next to paintings of peaceful landscapes. Statues of warriors stood beside statues of thinkers and healers. They have a word in their language that means both the best and worst qualities of their species. They call it humanity. When they speak of cruel acts, they say those acts are inhuman. When they speak of kind acts, they say those acts show humanity. They have defined themselves by their capacity for compassion, even while acknowledging their capacity for cruelty. How can they be both? Zoroth asked. I do not fully understand it myself, Kethra admitted. But I have watched them struggle with this contradiction their entire history. They write stories about it. They create art about it. They build entire philosophies around it. They argue endlessly about which side of their nature is the true one. She pulled up records of human achievements, medical breakthroughs that saved millions of lives, engineering projects that connected continents, scientific discoveries that expanded their understanding of the universe. When humans work together toward a goal, they can accomplish remarkable things. They cured diseases that killed millions of their kind. They built machines that let them fly. They put members of their species on their moon, a celestial body hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Using technology that would be considered primitive by our standards, they did it simply because they wanted to prove they could. The images shifted again. Humans helping each other after natural disasters. Humans donating blood to save strangers. Humans adopting orphaned children from other nations. They have created organizations dedicated entirely to helping others. They send food to nations suffering from famine. They send doctors to regions suffering from disease. They will cross their entire planet to help people they have never met and will never see again. Kethra turned to face the council directly. This is why they are category red, not because they are violent, though they are, not because they are resilient, though they are, not because they are unpredictable, though they certainly are. They are category red because they contain everything within themselves. The capacity for total destruction and the capacity for complete compassion, the willingness to die for strangers, and the willingness to kill for abstract concepts. They can be the best friends the galaxy has ever known, or the worst enemies anyone has ever faced, and there is no way to predict which one they will choose to be. She let out a long breath. I have studied many species. I have never encountered one like this. Most species are consistent. You can predict what they will do based on their nature. Predators act like predators. Prey acts like prey. Warriors fight. Builders build. Thinkers think. She shook her head slowly. Humans do all of these things. Sometimes in the same individual, sometimes in the same moment. A human can be building a home in the morning and fighting a war in the afternoon. A human can show mercy to an enemy who just tried to kill them and then show no mercy to someone who threatens their family. They operate on emotional logic that changes from moment to moment based on factors that are almost impossible to identify in advance. Counselor Varn spoke up. If they are so dangerous, perhaps we should eliminate the threat before they spread beyond their home system. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. Kethra said very quietly, would be the worst mistake this council could ever make. If you want to see what humans are truly capable of, threaten their survival, give them a common enemy. Unite them against you, her tentacles coiled tight against her body. I have seen what they do to each other when they are divided. I cannot imagine what they would do to us if they were united against a threat to their entire species. She turned off the display one final time. My recommendation is simple. Do not contact them. Do not provoke them. Do not give them any reason to see us as an enemy. Watch them from a distance. Learn what you can, and hope, for all our sakes, that when they finally reach the stars in significant numbers, they come in peace. The council voted unanimously to accept her recommendation. They were already too late. The trading station called Kelver Point sat at the edge of civilized space, like a rusted coin forgotten in a pocket. It was not a pleasant place. It was not meant to be. Kelver Point existed for beings who wanted to do business without questions being asked. Pirates came here. Smugglers came here. Slavers came here. The station's only law was simple. Pay your docking fees and do not damage the station itself. Everything else was permitted. Commander Lisa Huang had not planned to bring the Starward Dawn to Kelver Point. She had not planned to be in this sector of space at all. But the unstable wormhole had thrown them off course by several thousand light-years, and the reactor breach had left them with no choice. They needed repairs. They needed medical supplies. Captain Samuel Green was dying in the medical bay, his body slowly failing from radiation exposure he had sustained while manually sealing the breach. He had saved the ship. He had saved the crew. Now he had ours to live unless they found help. Lisa stood on the bridge, looking out at the ugly bulk of Kelver Point through the viewport. The station was covered in mismatched hull plates, the result of countless repairs using whatever materials were available. Lights flickered in random patterns across its surface. Several ships were docked at its ports, and none of them looked friendly. Ma'am, I'm picking up multiple weapon signatures from the docked vessels. Lieutenant Kevin Park reported from his station. He was young, barely 23, and this was his first deep space mission. His hands were shaking slightly on his console. And the station is scanning us. They know we're damaged. Of course they do, Lisa replied. Her voice was calm, almost casual. They're predators. They can smell blood in the water. She turned to face her crew. There were only 12 of them left. The original complement had been 40. The wormhole transit and reactor breach had not been kind. Listen carefully. We need supplies, and we need them fast. I'm going over there with a trading party. Kevin, you have command of the ship. Kevin's eyes went wide. Ma'am, shouldn't we send someone else? You're the senior surviving officer. Lisa smiled slightly. That's exactly why I'm going. If something goes wrong over there, you need to be able to get the ship out. Take care of the captain. Keep the crew safe. If I'm not back in 4 hours, leave without me. That's an order, Lieutenant. Lisa's voice carried no anger, only certainty. The ship matters more than any single crew member. Even me. She walked to the airlock without looking back. The interior of Kelver Point smelled like machine oil, unwashed bodies, and something chemical that Lisa could not identify. The corridors were narrow and poorly lit. Beings of various species moved through them, most of them armed. All of them watching her with obvious interest. Lisa had changed out of her scorched uniform into civilian clothes. But she knew she still stood out. Humans were rare in this part of space. Most species here had probably never seen one before. She kept her hands visible and her pace steady as she made her way toward what the station directory claimed was a medical supply merchant. She never reached it. The Dreth found her. First, there were 13 of them, blocking the corridor ahead. They were large creatures, nearly 7 feet tall, covered in scales the color of dried blood. Their arms ended in hands with 4 clawed fingers each. Their faces were flat and reptilian, with small eyes that glittered with cruel intelligence. The Dreth were known throughout the galaxy as slavers and raiders. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who resisted. Their leader stepped forward. He was even larger than the others, with scars covering his face and neck that suggested he had survived many fights. "Human," he said, his voice a low growl. "You are far from your home?" "I'm just passing through," Lisa replied. "I need medical supplies for my ship. I have credit to pay." The Dreth leader laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Your ship is damaged. Your crew is small. You have no weapons, or in no position to negotiate." He gestured to his warriors. "We will take your vessel. Your crew will serve us. You, perhaps, we will sell. Humans are rare. Some collectors would pay well for one." Lisa did not move. "I'm asking you nicely to let me pass. My captain is dying. I need to get him medicine." "Your captain is already dead," the Dreth leader said. "He just doesn't know it yet. And soon you will wish you were dead too." He struck her. His clawed hand moved almost too fast to see, catching her across the face and sending her stumbling backward into the wall. Blood flowed from 3 parallel cuts across her cheek. The pain was immediate and intense. Lisa touched the blood. Ouch. She looked at it on her fingers. And then she looked at the Dreth leader. And something in her eyes changed. The Dreth warrior nearest to her would later describe what he saw. He would say that one moment she was just a small, wounded creature. The next moment she was something else entirely. Her eyes went flat and empty, like windows into a dark room. Her body shifted into a stance that somehow made her seem larger. The fear drained out of her face and was replaced by nothing at all. "You shouldn't have done that," we said quietly. The Dreth leader laughed again and reached for her. What happened next took less than 3 minutes. Station security would later review the recordings dozens of times, trying to understand what they were seeing. The human female moved through the Dreth warriors like water through rocks. She did not fight the way they expected.
Ow.
She did not try to match their strength.
Oh.
Instead, she used their strength against them, redirecting their attacks, using their weight and momentum to throw them off balance. She broke the first warrior's arm with a joint lock that bent it in a direction arms were not meant to bend. She shattered the second warrior's knee with a kick that came from below his line of sight. She crushed the third warrior's throat with an elbow strike that happened so fast the recordings could barely capture it. The Dreth leader tried to grab her. She dropped under his arms, drove her palm up into his chin, and then swept his legs out from under him.
Ow.
When he hit the ground, she stomped on his face with enough force to crack his skull. The remaining warriors tried to swarm her. She grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and used it as a weapon, spraying blinding foam into their eyes before swinging the heavy metal cylinder into their heads. One warrior managed to slash her across the arm. She ignored the wound completely and broke his jaw with the extinguisher. When station security finally arrived, they found Lisa sitting calmly against the wall, surrounded by 13 unconscious or groaning Dreth warriors. She was bleeding from multiple wounds. Her clothes were torn. Her hair had come loose from its tie and hung around her face in wild strands. "I need medical supplies," she said calmly. "For my ship. I have credit to pay." The security chief, a 4-armed being called Torvax who had run Kelver Point security for 30 years, stared at her in disbelief. "You did this alone? They attacked me first?" Lisa stood up slowly, wincing as the movement pulled at her wounds. "I defended myself. Now, can someone please tell me where I can find a medical supply merchant? My captain is dying." Torvax looked at the Dreth leader, who was just starting to regain consciousness. He looked at the other warriors scattered across the corridor like broken toys. He looked back at the small human woman with blood running down her face and absolute calm in her eyes. "We'll take you there myself," he said. "Thank you." Picked up her bag, which had been knocked aside during the fight. "I appreciate the help." She walked past the fallen Dreth warriors without looking at them. Torvax followed, and for the first time in 30 years, he found himself feeling something that might have been fear. Behind them, the Dreth leader finally managed to sit up. He watched the human walk away, and he knew something that his pride would never let him admit out loud. He had been lucky, so he had let him live. News traveled fast in the galaxy, but news about the incident at Kelver Point traveled faster. In 3 days, every major power in the Galactic Concord had heard the story. A single human female had defeated 13 Dreth warriors in hand-to-hand combat. The Dreth who had terrorized shipping lanes for centuries, the Dreth whose warriors were considered among the most dangerous fighters in known space. 13 of them beaten by one small human with no weapons. Ambassador Kethra watched the recordings in her private quarters, her 4 eyes fixed on the screen. She had warned the Council. She had told them exactly what humans were capable of. But even she had not expected to see proof so quickly. The emergency session was called within hours. Every counselor attended, either in person or via holographic projection. The singing crystals in the walls of the chamber hummed with nervous energy as Kethra took her place at the center once again. "You have all seen the recordings," she began without preamble. "The species I warned you about has already made contact with the wider galaxy. The Category Red designation has been confirmed. One human defeating 13 Dreth is impressive," Counselor Varn admitted, his mechanical voice carrying an unusual tone of respect. "But it could be an anomaly. Perhaps this individual was exceptional." "She was not exceptional," Kethra replied. "She was trained, yes, but her level of training is common among humans. They call it martial arts. They have hundreds of different styles developed over thousands of years of fighting each other. Many humans dedicate significant portions of their lives to learning these techniques." She pulled up files on human combat training, images of humans practicing complex fighting movements, humans breaking wooden boards and concrete blocks with their bare hands, humans sparring with each other at speeds that were difficult to follow. "This is considered a recreational activity among them," Kethra continued. "They do this for exercise, for fun. They enter competitions to see who is the best fighter. They watch these competitions as entertainment." The Council absorbed this in silence. High Counselor Zoreth spoke next. "What do we know about their intentions? Why are they in this region of space?" "Their ship was damaged during transit through an unstable wormhole," Kethra explained. "They were seeking repairs and medical supplies. Their captain was injured during the incident. By all indications, they had no aggressive intentions." "They destroyed 13 of our citizens," Counselor Drethford growled. He was the representative of the Dreth Empire, a massive scaled creature who had been notably silent until now. "This cannot go unanswered." "Your citizens attacked them first," Kethra pointed out. "They attempted to take the human vessel by force and enslave its crew. The human defended herself. Under Concord law, she was within her rights." Drethford's claws scraped against his seat. One human should not have been able to defeat 13 Dreth warriors, and yet she did. Kethra's voice was calm but carried an edge. "Perhaps your warriors should be more careful about whom they attack." Before Drethford could respond, an alert chimed through the chamber. An incoming transmission was being routed to the Council. The source was identified as the human vessel Starward Dawn. Zoreth authorized the connection. A holographic image flickered to life at the center of the chamber. Captain Samuel Green looked terrible. He was propped up in a medical bed, his skin pale and his eyes sunken. Medical equipment surrounded him, monitoring his vital signs. But his voice, when he spoke, was steady. "High Council of the Galactic Concord," he said formally. I am Captain Samuel Green of the Earth vessel Starward Dawn. I understand there has been some concern about a recent incident involving my crew. I wanted to address this personally. Commander Lisa Huang stood beside him, her face bandaged, but her posture straight. Her uniform now, clean and pressed, despite everything that had happened. We are explorers, Green continued. We left Earth to discover what lay beyond our solar system. We hoped to find new friends among the stars. We did not come looking for conflict. Your officer attacked our citizens, Drethfer interrupted. Lisa stepped forward. Your citizens attacked us first. They tried to steal our ship and enslave our crew. They hit me across the face when I asked them to let me pass. She touched the bandage on her cheek. I defended myself and my crewmates. I would do it again without hesitation. Should have surrendered. Humans do not surrender to slavers. Lisa's voice carried no anger, only simple fact. Ever. The chamber fell quiet. There was something in her tone that made even Drethfer pause. Zorath leaned forward. Captain Green, what are your intentions now? What does humanity want from the Galactic Concord? Green smiled weakly. We want what any species wants. Knowledge, friendship, trade. We have so much to learn from you. Your technology is far beyond ours. Your cultures span thousands of years. Your history contains wisdom we can barely imagine. He paused to catch his breath. The radiation poisoning was clearly taking its toll. In return, we offer our own knowledge, our own culture, our own friendship. If we refuse this friendship, then we will leave you in peace, Green replied. We will find others who wish to know us. We do not force ourselves on anyone. Counselor Mira's golden form flickered with curiosity. And if someone attempts to harm you, as the Dreth did, Lisa answered, then we will defend ourselves. We have no interest in starting wars, but we will finish them if we must. You speak of finishing wars, Varen observed. Your species is small. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. How would you finish a war against a galactic power? Lisa looked directly at the mechanical counselor. Do you really want to find out? There was no threat in her voice. No anger. Just a simple question, asked with absolute sincerity. And somehow, that was more frightening than any threat could have been. Green spoke again, breaking the tension. We are not looking for enemies. We left Earth hoping to find wonder among the stars. And we have. The galaxy is more beautiful and more diverse than we ever imagined. We want to be part of it. We want to contribute to it. We want to learn from it. He struggled to sit up straighter, fighting against his failing body.
But we are what we are.
We are human. We protect our own. We do not abandon our people. We do not bow to bullies. We do not surrender to those who would enslave us. If that makes us dangerous, then so be it. We would rather be dangerous and free than safe and in chains. He met Zorath's crystalline gaze directly. So I ask you, High Counselor, what will it be? Will the Galactic Concord be our friend? Or will you try to be our enemy? Zorath was silent for a long moment. The crystals in the walls sang softly, a complex melody that seemed to reflect the uncertainty in the chamber. You are a bold species, he said finally. Perhaps too bold. But boldness is not always a flaw. He looked around at the other counselors. I propose that we establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. We will learn more about them. They will learn more about us. And we will see what kind of neighbors they choose to be. The vote was not unanimous. Drethfer voted against. 3 other counselors abstained. But the majority voted in favor, and the motion passed. Captain Samuel Green smiled. It was a genuine smile, full of hope and warmth. Thank you, he said. You will not regret this decision. Kethra watched him and found herself hoping he was right. But deep in her heart, she knew that the galaxy had just changed forever. For better or worse, humanity had arrived among the stars, and nothing would ever be the same. 50 years passed in the grand sweep of galactic history. 50 years was nothing. Civilizations that had existed for millennia barely noticed the passage of such a short time. But 50 years was enough for humanity to change everything. Ambassador Kethra, now ancient and slow, stood before the Galactic Council one final time. Her purple eyes had faded to a pale lavender. Her tentacles trembled constantly now, not from fear, but from age. This would be her last report before retirement. She had requested the honor of delivering it personally. "When I first stood before this council," she began, her voice still carrying the authority of 350 years of diplomatic service, "I warned you about humanity. I told you they were category red. I told you they were dangerous. I told you they were unpredictable." She paused, letting the memory settle over the chamber. "I was right about all of it, and I was wrong about what it meant." She activated the display. Images filled the chamber. Images from 50 years of human expansion across the galaxy. Humans did exactly what I predicted they would do. They spread. They explored. They built. They formed alliances. They made enemies. She cycled through images of human ships traveling to distant stars, human colonies rising on new worlds, human ambassadors meeting with hundreds of different species. They were curious about everything. They wanted to learn about every culture, every technology, every piece of history they could find. They asked questions constantly. They took notes. They remembered. The images shifted to show human doctors working in alien hospitals, human engineers helping to repair damaged infrastructure on worlds they had never visited before, human teachers explaining concepts to students of species that looked nothing like them. They shared their knowledge freely. Their medicine, their science, their art, their music. They held nothing back. They seemed genuinely happy to give away information that most species would have kept secret for competitive advantage. Kethra shook her head slowly. "We did not understand it at first. We thought it was a trick. We thought they were trying to make us dependent on them. But that was not it at all. They just wanted to help. It made them happy to see others succeed." The display changed again. Now it showed darker images. Human warships in battle formation. Human soldiers fighting on alien worlds. Human weapons reducing enemy vessels to scattered debris. But they also did exactly what I warned you they would do when threatened. The Slavers Guild thought humans would be easy targets, soft, weak. They raided a human colony and took 3,000 prisoners. They expected ransom demands. They expected negotiations. Kethra's voice hardened. Instead, they got war. Total war. The kind of war humans had spent their entire history perfecting. The humans did not negotiate. They did not ask for their people back. They simply destroyed the Slavers Guild. Completely. Every base. Every ship. Every hiding place. It took them 3 years. By the end, the Slavers Guild did not exist anymore. Not one member survived. She let the weight of that statement settle over the council. The Dreth Empire made a similar mistake. They decided to test human resolve by attacking a colony world. They thought a show of force would make humans submit. They thought wrong. The display showed images of the war that followed. Human ships swarming Dreth positions. Human soldiers fighting with terrifying efficiency. Human commanders making tactical decisions that Dreth strategists still studied with disbelief. The Empire surrendered unconditionally after 6 months. 6 months to defeat an empire that had existed for 2,000 years. Councillor Drethfer's seat was empty now. His empire no longer had a voice on the council. What remained of the Dreth lived as refugees scattered across a dozen worlds. Some humans had actually taken them in, offered them homes and jobs. The Dreth who accepted found that humans could be surprisingly kind to former enemies who showed genuine remorse. And then there was the Hollow Reach, Kethra continued. Her voice grew quiet. An unknown species that destroyed a human research station without warning. 400 humans died. Scientists, families, children. The chamber went completely silent. Everyone knew what had happened next. No one liked to talk about it. Humans spent 17 years searching for the Hollow Reach. 17 years. They sent ships to every corner of the galaxy. They followed every lead. They never stopped. They never gave up. They never forgot. The Hollow Reach no longer exists. We do not know exactly what happened. The humans do not speak of it. But their message was clear. Harm us, and we will find you. No matter how long it takes. no matter how far you run. She stood in the center of the chamber, small and frail, but somehow commanding every eye in the room. This is what Category Red means. Not a species to be avoided. Not a species to be feared. Category Red means a species that will be your greatest ally or your worst nightmare, depending entirely on how you choose to treat them. There is no middle ground with humans. You are either their friend or their enemy, and they will treat you accordingly. She smiled, and it was the first time anyone in the chamber had ever seen her smile. I have spent 50 years watching them. I have worked alongside them. I have argued with them. I have learned from them. And I have come to understand something that I did not understand when I first stood before you. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every counselor in turn. Humans are not dangerous because of what they might do to us. They are dangerous because of what they make us want to become. They believe in things, abstract things, freedom, justice, compassion, hope. They believe these things matter. They will fight and die for these things. And somehow, when you spend enough time around them, you start believing too. She gestured, and the display activated one more time. This time it showed something different. A monument that stood on the world where the first official contact between humans and the Concord had been made. It was a simple structure, a pillar of white stone with words carved into it in dozens of languages. "Here there be friends," the inscription read. "May we always choose to be." Humans built that monument, Kethra said. They build monuments everywhere they go, to remember the past, to honor the fallen, to inspire the future. They cannot help themselves. They need to believe that what they do matters, that their actions will echo through time, that the universe cares about the choices they make. She turned off the display one last time. Maybe the universe does care. Maybe it doesn't. But humans act as if it does, and that has made all the difference. She stood straight as her old body would allow. "I am retiring from this council. My time is done. But before I go, I want to say one thing. In 350 years of service, I have encountered thousands of species. I have studied their histories, their cultures, their rise and fall, and I have never encountered a species quite like humanity." Her voice softened. "They are terrifying. They are wonderful. They are impossible to predict and impossible to control. They are everything I warned you about and everything I hoped they would be." She smiled again.